course, Martin Stosek believed would suit the leader's Canyon North Wave. But perhaps he did not realize just how steep Rusty Gate was, or how motivated Speed Company Racing were to try and rip the yellow jerseys from his and Andres Seval's shoulders. Another day, another Speed Company Racing attack. The race's primary aggressors started like men on a mission. But having never ridden Rusty Gate before, they misjudged their efforts. After racing to an early lead, Lucas Baum's lights went out. Momentarily, they thrived together and survived together though. So Georg dropped back to help his partner, knowing that if they got over the summit, they would be able to have a second bite at the cherry that was the yellow jerseys. On the descent, risks were taken. The lead group, which had summited with some semblance of order, was torn to pieces by the precipitously steep drop towards the Kloof Dam. Toyota 91 Specialized, Canyon Northwave and William Pirelli navigated the downhill in a group and started the undulating ride across the farmlands together. But they'd taken less risks than Speed Company Racing. Egger and Baum were on the attack again. Further back, Nino Schurter was ushering Lars Forster up to the lead group and then dragged everyone onwards to Speed Company. On a kicker, Baum and Egger accelerated again, snapping the elastic which held the group to their wheels. In the chase that followed, Forster went down. A luckless Swiss rider's crash turned his handlebars perpendicular to his front wheel, but fortunately appeared to leave him with no more than a set of nasty bruises. Battered and deflated, he regained his composure. His Scots Ram partner Schurter came back to check on him and helped with the righting of his bars. The Speed Company team continued to charge ahead, stretching their advantage with every angry pedal stroke. Could they feasibly hold off the chase for 90 kilometers? The question could never be answered as Egger and Baum missed a route marker and charged off course. Heading right when they should have forged straight ahead, they only realized their error, having gone on a significant way in the wrong direction. Turning around to retrace their steps cost them around 4 minutes. The fall further exacerbated their troubles, but didn't slow their charge to rectify the error. Burning matches all the while, they chased the new leaders. Somehow Speed Company Racing managed to regain contact with the lead group, though their sudden appearance behind seemed to confuse the Canyon Northwave team and their companions in the group. Having taken flight not once but twice, the men in second on the general classification had expended a significant amount of energy. The Franschhoek Pass was not the place to launch the next move, however. The gradient is too shallow for climbers to get away, and the group was marshalled by the men in yellow, setting a steady tempo. This even allowed chasers to catch the group, and Trek Wouter continued their improving form from stage 4, also joined the lead group on the winding descent into Franschhoek. Upon reaching the valley floor, the group sat up to assess its composition. Sensing their opportunity, the Buco Type Dev team struck with a perfect pincer movement. Taking advantage of a moment of uncertainty, Peter de Troy and Marco Hubert attacked on the left and right hand side and surged clear, racing into the Berg River Dam trails with a howling southeaster at their backs. Having charged through the Golden Leaf community-built trails along the banks of the Berg River Dam, extending their lead all the while, the Buco Type Dev team rocketed through Ludus Magnus, crossing the Berg River on the low water causeway, and flew into the Boschendal trails. 2.5 minutes back, the chase group was more concerned with their general classification battle. This allowed Peter de Troy and Mark Hubert to continue building on their advantage through the Trails SA track up Helshoogte and onto the Botmas Kop single tracks. As the trail's gradients ramped up, the Canyon Northwave and Toyota 91 Specialized teams drove away from Speed Company Racing and Team Bulls. For the first time since stage 1, Georg Egger and Lucas Baum were losing time in the general classification battle. Up ahead, Mbuko Type Dev were gaining time. Not that their overall standing was the primary motivating factor in their headlong descent towards Stellenbosch. The old World Cup downhill track was providing a fitting finale to a dramatic day of racing. Particularly dramatic for fans of Peter de Troy and Marco Hubert. The young South Africans are popular characters on the local mountain biking circuit, and their victory would be celebrated well beyond their team. Andreas Seewald and Martin Stossek crossed the line in second, having created the smallest of gaps to Matt Beers and Chris Blevins on the Heartbreak Hill in the final 3 kilometres. Despite the South African champion losing a handful of seconds, there was a great reason to celebrate for the Rainbow Nation's mountain biking fans after stage 5. Marco Huber and Peter de Troy's maiden Absa Cape Epic stage victory was achieved in a time of 4 hours, 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Andreas Seewald and Martin Stossek were 2 minutes and 6 seconds back, 4 seconds ahead of Matt Beers and Chris Blevins. The South African stage victory moved them up from 9th to 6th on the general classification. Canyon Northwave still lead the overall, but with Speed Company Racing conceding time, their closest rivals are now Toyota 91 Specialized at 6 minutes and 54 seconds back. If it was going to be possible for Lucas Baum and Georg Egger to make up 7 minutes, they would need to be exceptionally aggressive right from the off. Fortunately for them, there were a number of teams in the race who had yet to win a stage. The Speed Company Racing squad would thus have companions for any long-range attack. Teams like Scott SRAM, Willia Pirelli, Buff Megamo and the Bulls all had points to prove, and could thus be useful to general classification time chasers. The brutal ascent of Botmascorp provided the terrain to split the elite men's field within the first 5 kilometres of the stage. In the chaos of the climb, teammates became separated and many a rider could be seen casting glances over their shoulders in search of their partners. One such rider was Martin Stossek. His Canyon Northwave teammate Andreas Seewald was struggling to keep up. The German had cracked a rib earlier in the race and was having difficulty breathing deeply on the climb. While Canyon Northwave fought to stay in contact, Willia Pirelli slipped off the front. Fabian Ravensteiner and Wout Alleman used the flowing Fynbos descent of Botmascorp and into the Bannock Valley as a launch pad. Behind, Stossek was attempting to control the pace, but Georg Egger forced his way by. With Stossek blocking behind, Nino Schurter and Chris Blevins put on a skilled showcase on the Bannock berms. Before Willia Pirelli 1 and 2 escaped again through Old Bethlehem with Toyota 91 Specialized and Speed Company Racing. The climb back out of the Bannock Valley, the group thinned under pressure applied by Matt Beers and Chris Blevins. Discussions were taking place behind the men in second overall though, and plans were being hatched for stinging attacks. Meanwhile, Daniel Gesmeyer and Cameron Orr battled to remain within touching distance of their Willia Pirelli teammates. Further back, Canyon Northwave were fighting for their yellow jerseys. Their situation was dire, but not yet entirely out of control. But that was at risk of changing as the group ahead upped their tempo on the Idas Valley community trails. Speed Company Racing and Willia Pirelli had the bit between their teeth. By prior arrangement or by the sheer power of their acceleration, the Willia Pirelli team managed to distance Speed Company Racing too. On the climb past the Herstein Castle and the slopes of Jonkershoek Valley, Fabian Ravensteiner and Wout Alleman extended their initial advantage. With a monumental effort, the Italian and Belgian marathon champions built a lead which put them out of sight of the chasing Georg Egger and Lucas Baum. In the Jonkershoek trails, the Willia Pirelli team continued to extend their advantage. Fabian Ravensteiner and Wout Alleman flew down the Armageddon Trail, taking on the iconic rock wall as they charged towards the valley floor. Even in the midst of the high-paced race, they had time to have fun. Speed Company Racing were more cautious in their approach, concentrating on being fast and safe rather than having fun. Georg Egger and Lucas Baum were only focused on gaining time to win yellow. The race in the stage, Pirelli's second team, Daniel Gesmeyer and Cameron Orr, were in third on the trail, ahead of the Buff Megama and Canyon Northwave teams. Matt Beers and Chris Blevins had slipped to sixth on the trails and were losing their second place overall. This was of no concern to Ravenstein and Alleman. Their goal was simply to win the stage. Knowing Speed Company Racing were flying behind them, they could not afford a moment of relaxation until the finish line was in sight. Ravensteiner allowed himself a quick celebration with a young fan. Then it was onward to victory, to raise their Willier bikes above their heads. The win is their first at the Absa Cape Epic on their new steeds. Their elation was palpable and would soon be shared with their teammates. Though the Speed Company Racing duo drove for the line, sprinting for every valuable second. As happy for their teammates as they were for their own third-place finish after a difficult race, Gesmeyer and Orr completed the excellent day for Willier Pirelli. With 4 riders on the Stage 6 podium, the day could not have gone much better for the Italian squad. 3 hours, 16 minutes and 4 seconds was all it took for Fabian Ravenstein and Wout Alleman to complete their stage victory. Georg Egger and Lucas Baum were a minute and 15 seconds slower across the 76-kilometer route, but 4 minutes and 15 seconds faster than Andreas Seewald and Martin Storsek. That meant Canyon Northwave's general classification advantage shrunk to 2 minutes and 45 seconds, their smallest buffer since they pulled on the leaders' jerseys after stage 1. Toyota 91 Specialized dropped to third and head into the final day 7 minutes and 40 seconds behind the men in yellow. Full gas was the only speed that Speed Company Racing have ridden at all race. The German pair Georg Egger and Lucas Baum have gone all in every day, making or losing time in the general classification battle as their fortunes fluctuated. But their aggressive style won them many fans, including among their fellow riders in the peloton. Teams like Willier Pirelli, Scott Stram and Santa Cruz were more than happy to aid them in their bid to reel in Canyon Northwave. The men in yellow, meanwhile, had Toyota 91 Specialized and Buff Megamo to help them in their pursuit, as they all had reasons to chase too. They realized within the first 10 kilometers that they would have their work cut out for them though. Egger and Baum were setting a frenetic pace, and the chasing group were losing time in handfuls every time the trails headed uphill. The momentum was all with Speed Company Racing, and Canyon Northwave would need luck to overturn it. The yellow jersey group's fortunes ailed on the Simmonsburg Conservancy trails, where Hunspecking punctured. That left the group without the Dutch champions' formidable firepower. With Andreas Seewald and Matt Beers struggling, the Canyon Northwave Toyota 91 Specialized group were clearly slower than the Speed Company Racing Scott Stram Santa Cruz group. The men chasing the stage win and the race lead were flying and shelled Willier Pirelli off the back. The Italian squad faded back to their support team in the increasingly stressed chase pack, where Daniel Gesmeyer and Cameron Orr had joined Beers, Seewald, Martin Storsek and the Willier 7C Force team of Johnny Cataneo and Nicola Taparel. The group was becoming ragged too, and with cooperation breaking down, Canyon Northwave had to strike out alone. After the single tracks of Murati, the men in yellow had to forge on in a team time trial, abandoning their erstwhile helpers because they were too slow to be of any assistance. Up the road, Speed Company Racing were riding like men possessed. They were receiving no time splits from the course and had no idea if they were doing enough to rip yellow from Canyon, but they would certainly not die wondering. They did, however, suffer a blow to their chances when Nino Schurter punctured for the 10th time in the race. The Swiss star had been doing turns on the front as he and Lars Forster sought their second stage win of the race, but his rear wheel puncture relegated him from the lead group, ending his Absa Cape Epic campaign much as it had started, with a poorly timed puncture. Scott SRAM were not the only ones who were unable to stay with Speed Company Racing. Santa Cruz's Maxime Marot's legs were failing him. This meant that Keegan Swenson had to drop back too. Soon Scott SRAM joined forces with Santa Cruz. They remained up the road from Stosek and Seerwold, who were being caught once more by Beers, Blevins and the William Pirelli 2 team of Gasmeyer and Orr. There was no catching Egger and Baum though. The Speed Company Racing men had conquered the final treacherous descent from the slopes of the Siemensberg to the Berg River Valley. In close formation, showing the exemplary teamwork they had exhibited all week, they drove towards Val de Vie. The finish line was abuzz. Egger and Baum had ridden their way into the hearts of the Absa Cape Epic fans throughout the week, and they would be highly popular stage winners. Driving for the line, they maximised every second they could gain on Canyon Northway. So focused were they on the overall that they hardly celebrated the day's victory. Their only thoughts were on the general classification. During the agonising wait, Schurter and Foster outsprinted Marot and Swenson to add a touch of a silver lining to their disappointing campaign. But all eyes were on the clock and Speed Company Racing. After 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the celebrations could officially begin. Egger and Baum were the 2022 Absa Cape Epic champions. Beers and Blevins rolled home fourth, just ahead of a dejected Seerwold and Stosek, who became the first riders to lose the lead on the final stage. After congratulations all round, the Speed Company Racing team were just about composed enough to reflect on their incredible untamed experience. Speed Company Racing stage win was completed in 2 hours 46 minutes and 34 seconds. Scott SRAM crossed the final finish line a minute and 44 seconds later, just ahead of Santa Cruz. Toyota 91 Specialized and Canyon Northwave conceded 5:43 and 5:48 respectively to the day's winners. This meant that Georg Egger and Lucas Baum were the winners of the 2022 Absa Cape Epic by 3 minutes and 2 seconds, turning around the 2 minute and 45 second deficit they started the day with. Andres Seerwold and Martin Stosek had to be content with second, while Matt Beers and Chris Blevins finished third.